I was attacked by a crazy woman in a metro. Now I think she's following me.
Hey,
The blonde lady shouted.
hey, why are you avoiding me?
She must have mistaken me for someone else. Someone she's pissed at. That was for sure. Her hair was all frizzled and she was running at me in heels. I felt bad for her. I think you got the wrong guy. She slapped my pitying smile right off my face.
10 years.
She snarled like a wild animal.
10 years. And that's all you got to say?
She was shoving me, scratching at my face with long red nails.
I loved you, Aiden. We had something special.
She seemed to know my name, but I've never seen this woman before in my life. Get off! I yelled, but I didn't want to hurt her. But I didn't want my eyes to be clawed out either. The doors of the metro elevator were closing up ahead. I shoved the attacker off and slipped inside at the last second. The other passengers stared at me judgmentally while she pounded on the tiny door, but I held the door close button until we started moving up. I caught glimpses of the crazy blonde running up the escalators, but she never made it in time. I was leaving her behind. I talked it over with my girlfriend that evening. Was it possible that I had a stalker? One who'd been watching me for a long time? 10 years. But who was only confronting me now? It sounded too crazy to believe. My girlfriend Lauren didn't seem too bothered, probably because she hadn't been there. She'd seen a crazy look in the woman's eyes.
Well, now you know what she looks like, right?
Lauren shrugged, twisting her black hair around her finger, like she's always been when she was bored.
So you can just avoid her if you see her again.
I kept my eyes peeled during the morning commute. Sure enough, there she was, her golden hair swinging from side to side as she searched the crowd for someone. For me. Our eyes met. She spotted me. The crazy woman suddenly started shoving her way through the crowd.
Aiden!
She shrieked my name again and again, making another scene.
Aiden! You can't run away again, Aiden. You gotta talk to me, Aiden.
The flow of the crowd was against her, though, and I was able to slip back up the stairs. My heart hammered in my chest. What if she had a weapon? I took a different way to work for a few days, but the metro was so much faster than a bus, and I felt stupid, letting some psychotic stranger push me around. I let out a sigh of relief when I sat down at my usual seat on the metro 3 days later. The blonde was nowhere to be seen. Maybe humans had a sixth sense that let us know when we were being watched, or maybe my nerves were just on edge already. But by Friday, I was sure someone was following me. It was dark and rainy when I left work. Beneath their black coats and umbrellas, the faces all looked the same. Who could it be? I tried the old spy movie trick of walking a complete circle around the block, but I didn't like where I ended up. In a narrow street with hardly any light and no people, except for one figure that paused, uncertain, at the entrance to the alley. For a moment, they just stood there, unmoving. But when they walked on, I caught a glimpse of a pinned-up blonde hair beneath a beret. What if I followed her instead? This was getting silly, but I had to know. With a sinking feeling, I recognized the neighbor she led me to. She was leading me right back to the apartment I shared with Lauren. Right back home. The psycho knew where I lived. What happened next was confusing, to say the least. The blonde took out a letter and slipped it underneath the building door. She hardly turned the corner when I saw Lauren through the glass door. My girlfriend tore the blonde letters into tiny pieces, then buried it in the trash. What was going on here? Lauren hadn't seen me, I was sure of that, but later, when we talked about our day over dinner, she said nothing about the mysterious letter. And yet, I was the one who felt like I was hiding something from her when fished around in the garbage the next morning, hunting for pieces of my stalker's letter. Juice stains and coffee grounds had made most of it illegible, but one phrase stood out. In fact, it was repeated several times. Not what she seems. Later that night in bed, I brushed Lauren's long black hair away from her bare back. My stalker was probably referring to her. But what could Lauren possibly have to hide? We'd been together since That was odd. I couldn't remember. Since before my new job and the new apartment, it must have been before I bought my laptop and phone too, since I didn't have any pictures of my previous partners on either. I scrolled through old photos mindlessly, unable to fall asleep. Something was bothering me, but I wasn't sure what. I let out a nostalgic sigh. It seems like so long since Lauren and I had gone out and done any of the things in those pictures. I resolved to show a coworker a photo of Lauren and I at a bar with friends and asked if she was not what she seems, the same way as I remembered. Whoa, man, my coworker Raj nearly soaked me with his coffee. Who's the blonde? What? I checked the image again. My Lauren with her emerald eyes and raven black hair. You know, Raj winked. That freckled blonde you got around your arm there, who is she? Raj, I asked weakly, can you describe this girl you see? Raj described a girl I knew, so did the rest of the coworkers. They described the girl who attacked me in the metro, the girl who followed me home. Try as I might, I couldn't make myself see what others did. No matter how much I squinted, I only saw my version of Lauren, a slender, black-haired woman with high cheekbones and piercing green eyes. She had all the features I was most attracted to, and I was so lucky to have. Wait, wasn't it a little too convenient that my girlfriend had every feature I liked? I asked Raj to come back to my apartment. I told him I needed help moving some furniture, but the truth was I just wanted to know what he saw when he looked at Lauren. What everyone saw, except for me. Sure, man, Raj sounded surprised. You went out with us so much when you started here last month, but lately you've been hibernating. I want to see what you got at the new place that's keeping you at home. That's true, I thought. A new job, new phone, new apartment. Over the course of the last 2 months, it was like I'd become a different person. And when I tried to remember who I'd been before, the memories were fuzzy at best. My stomach lurched as I realized I couldn't even remember my last address. On the bus ride towards home, I wasn't taking any chances. I smiled along to Raj's one-sided conversation about his dating app misadventures. But inside, I was struggling to remember who I was. To remember what made me, well, me. Childhood was no problem. Adolescence, no worries. That closet full of skeletons was more than vivid enough to make me cringe. It was only more recently that things became hazy. Raj was rattling on, although the topic had changed to awful layout of apartments in our city. We stepped inside, kicked off our shoes, and headed down a narrow hallway to the living room. It was like I was saying, it's almost impossible to find a place without balcony. Raj made a guttural sound of terror and pressed his back against the wall. I couldn't see what he was so freaked out about. It was just Lauren, reading a book on the sofa.
Honey,
Lauren sighed.
I thought I told you I don't like having guests at home.
It was true, I remembered. Lauren had mentioned that, but why was she suddenly standing right beside me? How had she gotten so close to Raj in a split second? Why were his eyes so white and wide when he looked at her?
When you make mistakes like this,
Lauren went on, touching Raj's neck with a pale, slender hand,
there are bad consequences for everyone.
It was the strangest thing. It almost looked like Lauren's hand was slipping inside Raj's neck, beneath the skin, to wrap around his windpipe. And then suddenly, just for a flash, it wasn't a hand at all, but some other appendage. The kind of thing I've never seen in nature on Earth. And the creature it was attached to, the thing where Lauren stood. I felt dizzy. I told Lauren, of course Lauren, but what had I just seen standing there? That I needed to sit down. I think she nodded and I sat down here in the dim twilight of the bedroom to write out these confusing thoughts. Just trying to think about what might be happening to me makes my head hurt. Trying to remember is like fainting. I need to lie down. It's incredible reading through all this. Where could I have gotten such crazy ideas? As long as I can keep that crazy blonde lady away, I'm sure everything will be fine. I needed to go see how Lauren's doing. She's cooking some meat downstairs. That smells delicious.